Perfecto. Welcome to tonight's team training. I am your host, Mr. Smith, point five of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I just muted everybody. Drop some fives in the chat if you can hear me. Drop some fives in the chat again if you can hear me. And welcome to tonight's call. We're talking about breaking generational credit curses. Most people have said that they weren't taught about credit. They weren't taught about how to do certain things to position themselves to save money when it comes to better in there or attaining things like buying a car, buying a home. So you got to break that generational curse. Just because your parent didn't know how credit operated, or just because they didn't teach you how credit operated, does not give you the excuse to not learn it for yourself so that you don't also become that parent who does not teach their child about credit. So you got to learn it for yourself to say, you know what, I'm not even going to fault my parents. They did, the best that they could, whatever that may be. But let me make sure that I'm not the parent that also passes down lack of knowledge, passes down financial illiteracy. Let me not be the one who's too stubborn to learn how this all works so that I can also position my offspring in order to understand how to leverage credit. Now, before I get into the presentation, it may be a repeat for some, but repetition is a part of learning. So you sometimes have to hear things multiple times in order to fully grasp what it is that the subject matter is. So repetition is something you want to embrace. Don't look at it like, I already heard that, I already know that. Okay, are you doing that? Because that's the second part of learning, applying. So you can learn it by hearing it, repeating it over and over and over. But then when you start applying it, you learn it on another level. And then at the end, when I talk to the builders, I'm going to tell you the third part of learning that really takes you to the next level. So you learn it, you apply it, and then for the builders, when we get on their portion of the call, it's going to be about you understanding how to take your learning to the next level. Now, before I dive in, I do want to share my screen, and I want to share this video. Hopefully, you're going to be able to hear the audio, and it just paints the picture of the importance of credit, the importance of breaking generational credit curses, and hopefully you can hear this. I might play it twice because it's a short video clip, but it's impactful. And if you look around and think about what's being said in this video, I'm sure many people can agree. I'm sure many people can agree with what is being said because you probably either know the dynamics of what's being said, and you can look around because you've been around enough to know that what he's saying is valid. So that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen, and then from there we'll make sure we can hear the audio. I'll pause it, and then we'll go from there. All right, share screen. All right, 5 in the chat if you can see my screen. Drop a 5 in the chat if you can see my screen. Hold on, let me unshare because I forgot to do one step to make sure that you can hear it. All right, I think I kicked myself out for a second, but it's all good. Let's see. Hopefully this plays. If it don't,
a hunch was now more than correct.
Now, who can hear that? 5 in the chat if you can hear what was just being said. I'm gonna let it play a little bit, but I need some 5s in the chat if you can hear it.
What we found with data, I love data. We had Experian pull every zip.
Who can hear that? 5s in the chat if you can hear that. All right, I see a couple of 5s. Boom, that's what I want to know. All right, love it. Listen close. I'm gonna play it twice, possibly, but listen close to what's being said. You might have seen this, might have not, but it's important for the topic at hand for tonight. Let's go.
What we found with data, I love data. We had Experian pull every zip code in America by credit score.
Wow.
I just did I had a hunch. A hunch was now more than correct. Like there's like a 1% margin of error, what I'm about to tell you. We literally have been looking for love in all the wrong places. Data is unimpeachable, and it says this. All of our problems, crime, murder, mayhem, drugs, depression, poverty, are in 500 credit score neighborhoods. And in that neighborhood, by the way, black and brown urban or white poor, here's what you see. Check casher, target marketing, next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent-to-own store, next to a title lending store, next to a pawn shop, next to a liquor store, if I didn't say it already.
Yeah.
You guys starting to get a visual?
I'm gonna run that back one more time. This second time around, you're gonna hear something that you didn't hear before.
What we found with data, I love data. We had Experian pull every zip code in America by credit score.
Wow.
I just did I had a hunch. A hunch was now more than correct. Like there's like a 1% margin of error, what I'm about to tell you. We literally have been looking for love in all the wrong places. Data is unimpeachable, and it says this. All of our problems, crime, murder, mayhem, drugs, depression, poverty, are in 500 credit score neighborhoods. And in that neighborhood, by the way, black and brown urban or white poor, here's what you see. Check casher, target marketing, next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent-to-own store, next to a title lending store, next to a pawn shop, next to a liquor store, if I didn't say it already.
Yeah.
You guys starting to get a visual?
So I want y'all to really catch what was just said. See, when it comes to credit and breaking generational curses as it relates to credit, we all have a responsibility for one, to break the curse for ourselves, break the curse for our family, break the curse for our children, but also just understanding the impact of low credit scores has on the community, which overall affects the city and the state and the nation as a whole. So you having access to MyEcon and the My Credit system puts you in a position to actually solve a real world or a real nationwide problem. And we have a responsibility because now that you know better and you know that there's a solution that can help you better your credit and better your knowledge as it relates to credit, you also have that ability to change different communities from wherever you are. Because we live in a global economy now, but nationwide, you can actually use your cell phone, use your device, use platforms just like what we're using right now to reach people no matter where they are. And we need more people who are spreading this message. That's a whole nother conversation. But understanding the impact that bad credit has as it relates to crime, as it relates to poverty, as it relates to depression, as it relates to a lot of the mayhem that he said was going on in different places, and how it's connected to 500 credit scores. 500 credit scores, just by not understanding how credit works. Very important, because what I'm about to show you puts you in the best position to not only take your credit to the next level, but also help others at the same time. So that being said, let's dive straight in. If you can still see my screen, drop a 5 in the chat. If you can still see my screen, and I'll dive in. All right, perfect. So as you can see, this is the My Credit system. It's not showing up like a typical slide, but it's all good. Hopefully you'll be able to see it and follow along, screenshot if you need to. But you all have access to this. If you got your MyEcon active account, then guess what? You got access to this as well. It's available right there. I didn't do anything that you couldn't tap into. So you have access to this if you need to study it for yourself. And then, put yourself in a position to leverage this information that can position you to help others as well. But this is what you need to know when it comes to credit as a whole. Now, he broke it down on another level statistically of how 500 credit scores are having a negative impact, or it's the 500 credit score neighborhoods that have the high crime, that have the high depression, that have a lot of the things that, people don't want to surround themselves around. At least they say they don't. They say they want better for themselves and for their families. Well, a person being focused on their credit and not wanting to have less than ideal credit is a person who also wants better out of life. And when you're starting to get serious about the things that you do on a day-to-day that affects you directly as well as your family, then you naturally want to elevate from those circumstances. And if you elevate from those circumstances, it also inspires others to do the same in many cases. And as you get more knowledge, now you're in a position to be a change that you seek. A lot of people want change or say how things should change, but you got to first be the change that you seek out in the world. So here's some of the facts. Everybody is interested in credit. A great deal of people are interested in credit because credit has a negative impact or a positive impact on those who are dealing with it. And if you're not dealing with it, then I bet you your credit is still being used in some way, shape, form, fashion, whether it's your job and it determines whether or not you get a promotion, whether it's determined whether or not you're able to rent at a particular place, whether it determines, the type of home that you're able to get, a loan you're able to qualify for, the car, the vehicle that you're able to get. Even insurance in many cases is affected by credit. So you should be interested in credit if you're not. But everybody is impacted in some way, shape, form, fashion by credit. 68 million people have bad credit. That's a big number. It's like 80,000 people in MyEcon. 68 million have bad credit. So that's a huge problem that we can solve. A huge problem that you now have access to that makes sure that you're not a part of that 68 million. And if you are, just know that you have a solution. 40 million have an error on their report. And that's what we're big on inside of MyEcon and using the system. See, it's not a matter of lying or denying. And I like to point that out as much as possible, because a lot of people think that when we're talking about dispute things on their report, cleaning things up, they think that people are just lying or denying. Because the first thing they say, oh, it was yours. It belonged to you. You need to just pay it. Well, it depends on the scenario, because sometimes that account might have been sold to another entity that's acting unlawfully. It might have been taken as a tax deduction, which means that that company was compensated based on that account. So in that case, you want to use the laws to your advantage. Not lie, deny, but figure out what's inaccurate, what's in error, what's outdated, what's unverifiable. And once you understand that, now you position yourself to strengthen your score and not be amongst the 40 million who have an error on their report. Credit and credit restoration is a $3 billion industry. And that was back in 2018. $3 billion industry. It's up to you if you want a piece of that pie by, leveraging MyEcon and the options that come along with it. But it's a big industry, so it's a big deal. 79% of the people who dispute errors are successful in removing them. What does that mean for you? That means that it's a good chance that many of us have an error on our report. It's a good chance that many of us are part of that 40 million. And it's a good chance that if you dispute it, you can get that error corrected, because almost 80% of the people who disputed were successful in having that item removed. And everybody needs good credit. If not, you're going to overpay for things that other people pay less for. You might have the same vehicle as a certain person, but whoever has the best credit score has the better rate. Y'all might have the same exact vehicle. Somebody might be paying $700, another person might be paying $300. Y'all might live on the same street. Somebody might be paying, for in the same square footage home, somebody might be paying $2,000, the other person might be paying $1,400. Which means that if your score is less than ideal, then it's a chance that you might overpay hundreds of thousands of dollars just by having less than our ideal credit. It's a statistic that broke down that having bad credit or having good credit can save you 6 figures when it comes to interest. I believe it was like $250,000 plus, and depending on the home and the size of the home and the value of the home, it could be even more. So less than ideal credit can cost you a ton. So many people think, I shouldn't have to pay for credit repair, or it shouldn't cost $39 a month. It's costing you already. If you have less than ideal credit, I promise you it's costing you way more than $40 a month. And once you understand that, then you realize that the $39 investment in order to have your MyEcon membership active is an investment, not a cost, not a bill. You probably got a ton of other things that's not helping you better your finances or better your credit. Those are bills. So when you get into your budgeting, you budget those things out. If it's not adding value, if it's not positioning you to better your credit, better your finances, and save you money in multiple areas, you budget those things out. But MyEcon is something that's an investment. And if you do it the right way, it's 100% tax deductible. And those are just the facts. So let's break down the credit scores real quick. Many people know this, but what's a good credit score? The best credit you can have is 800 to 850. If you're dealing with the FICO score, that's what we're speaking on, specifically the FICO score, because that's the scoring model that most creditors use. The other scoring model is the Vantage score, and it's good to use as a guide. So I'm not going to demonize or knock anybody who uses their Credit Karma app or any other Vantage score, because it is good to use as a guide. And if you apply what it is I'm about to share, it doesn't matter what score you're looking at. If you do the things that we teach, then it's going to help your FICO score automatically anyway. But the best score is 850. The lowest score you can possibly have is 300. And then anything in between determines whether your score is excellent, good, fair, or poor. Now, the reason why it's important to know the highest score and the lowest score you can possibly have is that it paints the picture and lets you know that you're only working on trying to get 550 points. Sometimes people think they got to get the whole 850 or, a whole 700 if 700 plus is their goal. No, you're just trying to get the range between 300 and 850. So that's only 550 points that's available out there to help you get your score up. So how do we tap into that 550 points? Let's break it down. So here's an example of the whole score. When you're looking at the FICO score, it's broken up into 5 basic factors. 5 basic factors. You should know this very well. You should commit this to memory and know it like you know your ABCs. Like you should know those 5 things. I did a video, I think it was probably a couple months ago. One of my twin boys, Mason, I had him to go through the 5 factors. Now, I, went over it with him just to kind of see if he knew it. But then when I put him on the spot on the video, he nailed it. He was like, payment history, credit utilization, 3rd factor, credit history, new credit, and credit mix. He spit them out. You want to be making sure that you know these items, because once you know these 5 factors, then you know what area of focus is the most important to you. And I say this all the time, but once you know what area your score is suffering from, then you know what areas you need to lift up in order to strengthen your score. And this positions you to not fall victim to anything that somebody is offering. Because sometimes everybody has this shiny object or this thing that they're saying is going to help you boost your score, take it to the next level. Well, it might not be applicable to you. It might be good advice. It might be a great tip, but it might not be what your score needs. So if you know all 5 of these factors, then you only apply what applies to you. Everything else, you put it on pause. You leave it where it's at. So the first factor is payment history. This is just the history of your payments over time. And you want this to be as flawless as possible. You want this to be as close to 100% as possible. We got some solutions if you got some things that cause your payment history to not be at 100%. That's what the My Credit system is partially about, showing you how to get your payment history up to 100% positive, 90% positive. Like you want that to be as high as possible. Why? Because that's 35% of your score. If you're looking at the wheel over there, it says 35% of your score is based on payment history. How many points is that? If you're looking at it, you'll see that payment history is responsible for 192.5 points max. So when you're bettering your score and strengthening your score by getting negative payments or collections removed off of your credit profile, that's helping to strengthen that credit or that payment history, which is responsible for up to 192.5 points. So you need to tap into as many of those points as possible if you want to get yourself closer to that 800, 850 range. The second factor is credit utilization. That's 30% of your score, which is 165 points max. That's the max amount of points. Credit utilization. Now, what is credit utilization? Credit utilization is based on lines of credit, credit cards. So a lot of people shy away from using credit cards or having credit cards. They say they don't want credit cards, want nothing to do with credit cards, based on what we've been taught, or just based on fear, or just based on lack of discipline and people knowing themselves. However, based on how the credit scoring model works, you want some type of line of credit or credit card. Now, there are some other creative ways that people are able to tap into credit utilization by having different new age accounts that allow them to at least get something in the credit utilization area. So, for example, there are different, new age banking systems that are out right now. Like, for example, what's the name of it? Not SoFi. I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me later. But sometimes people are getting their paychecks deposited in particular accounts, and it's helping them with their credit utilization. So there are options out there. But typically, you want to get your credit card, some type of basically the secured or the unsecured credit card. Unsecured primarily basically is something that holds more weight. The unsecured card, it basically allows you to apply for it. They give you a certain amount of money based on what they feel you qualify for. And it holds more weight because you didn't have to put any money down. But if you're not in a position to qualify, then you can always do a secured card, which means that you put the money up. And then it's all about knowing how to go about using that credit card. You want to make sure that you do a couple of things, and I'll brush through this real quick. But basically, when you have a credit card, you want to know what day of the month they report to the bureaus. Once you know what day they report to the bureaus, now that puts you in a position of power. You are able to pay your credit card balances down before they report. Get it as low as possible. Low, in my definition, is less than 10%, 1%, 0%, just low as possible. So that way, when they report, they're going to report a low balance. And it helps you in more ways. It helps boost your score, help you tap into up to 165 points. But they also see, okay, this person is good with leveraging and using their credit cards. We can trust them with more money. Let's give them a higher credit limit. So you might have a credit card that had a $500 balance, and you might see that a few months of you using the card the right way, they bump that credit limit up to 1,000. So it helps your score, but it also helps you get access to more capital once they see that you're using your credit cards properly. So credit utilization is usually based on credit cards or lines of credit, basically revolving debt. You being able to use a certain amount, pay it off, and still reuse it. It's different from loans. You can't use part of your loan, pay part of your loan, then reuse it. It doesn't work like that. So credit cards and credit utilization is based on lines of credit and credit cards. So it's important to have it. Otherwise, you're leaving 165 points on the table. I look at clients' reports all the time and I see, okay, I see right now you don't have anything that's reporting in the area of credit cards or revolving credit. I know for a fact you're leaving up to 165 points on the table per bureau. Credit history. Credit history is just pretty much the age of your credit. And basically, it factors in how old your old accounts and your new accounts, and it gives you an average. So you might have a 10-year-old account and a 1-year-old account, meaning that you opened up an account 1 year ago and another account was opened up 10 years ago. Well, they're going to take that average. They're going to take the 10 plus 1, call that 11. They're going to divide it by 2 since it's 2 accounts. And now that means that your credit age is 5.5. So that's just how credit age works. The more credit age you have, the better. So you want to be in a position to where you're not just always applying for something new. And if you have applied for something new, let your credit score, chill for a while you're using your current open accounts to have positive payment history, have good credit utilization. So that way you can build up some history that isn't so new. Hopefully that makes sense. Then new credit, that's responsible for 55 points. That's just basically not having a lot of inquiries on your report, not having too many new accounts, like I said. And if you do, then make sure you are using those in a way that helps strengthen your overall score, and you keep it that way for a while to where that new account eventually becomes a seasoned account and it helps your score long term. And then credit mix is just them being able to see that you have the ability to balance your profile. They see that you're good at using credit cards, but you're also good at paying off things like car notes or loans or credit builder loans, whatever the case may be. Having a mixture of more than one type of account gives you a good holistic angle as it relates to your credit. So that way they see that you are responsible no matter what type of credit profile is thrown in your direction. And that gets you up to 55 points because that's 10% of your overall score. Let's keep going. So I broke all of these down on this screen, but this is what you got to understand when it comes to sending off letters, mailing out disputes, which is what most people are ready to get to. When they join MyEcon, they're like, where the letters at? They want to get straight to where the letters at. I got a late payment I'm trying to dispute. I got this collection. They're trying to get straight to the letters. Well, you want to go through the My Credit system step by step. But just so you understand what's really going on a deeper level, whenever you're sending out disputes, which we have all of the letters that you need, what that's doing is strengthening your payment history. Strengthening your payment history. So now that we don't have it on the screen, I need somebody to type in the comments, what percentage is payment history? And then somebody else or the same person can tell me how many points come from payment history. Type that in the chat. What percentage is payment history and how many points come from payment history? And while I wait for the answers to come in, I go through the letter flow. So basically, the solution to negative payment history, when you have collections on your account or charge-offs or late payments, the solution is mainly our top 4 letters. Now, there are a ton of other letters that are out there, but our top 4 letters is the solution. The first letter that we send out when you're going through the normal flow is the debt. It's actually the debt verification letter. So it's the verification letter. Just basically saying, hey, I see you're reporting this collection. I need you to verify that this debt belongs to me. And you're sending that to the bureaus, all 3 bureaus or whatever bureaus that collection is showing up on. So if it's an account and that collection is reporting to all 3 bureaus, then they will all 3 get that verification letter. If it's only reporting 2, then that collection will only show up on the 2 credit bureaus that is being reported on. Hopefully that makes sense. So verification letter is letter number 1. Then you wait 30 to 35 days and see what they've done, if anything. Sometimes they don't do anything, but if they keep that collection on there, then that's them pretty much saying that they believe that that's accurate and verified and worth them reporting. That's when you come with letter number 2. Letter number 2 is the method of verification letter. This letter is powerful because it asks them a certain amount of questions to say, okay, since you verified this and you continue to report this on my report, what was the method that you used to verify that item? So it goes through a whole checklist of a ton of things that many times they're not able to verify, because if they're a collection company, that means they bought it from somebody. You didn't sign the agreement with them directly, which means that they're not going to have all of the information that you provided when you first set up the account. So the method of verification letter gets the job done in many cases. The third letter that's powerful as well is a violation of the FCR rights letter. Basically saying, look, we sent the verification letter. You kept it on there. We sent the method of verification letter and you didn't really prove how you verified it, or you didn't delete it. That's a violation of my FCR rights. So once they violated your FCRA rights, that letter is something that addresses them and lets them know that you know that your rights have been violated, and it preps it for the 4th letter. So you send that 3rd letter 30 to 35 days later after you sent the 2nd. And now you have the ability to send that intent to litigate letter. That's just the basic flow. Of course, there are other angles and ways that you can go about it, but this is the basic flow. And usually these 4 letters gets the job done. The intent to litigate letter is basically saying, hey, my rights have been violated. And since I know my rights have been violated, I also know that I have the ability to sue if I choose. I can take it to that level if I choose. So I'm sending you an intent to litigate. And it's a lot of different consumer law attorneys out here who are willing to take cases like these. In some cases, they'll be willing to take it without you paying anything out of pocket, because they get their money on the back end when they sue these big companies, portfolio recovery, and all of these other companies that are out here. When they sue, they get their money from them, and then sometimes people get compensated as well, $1,000+ just off of them having their rights violated. So that's very important. There are other letters, as I stated, but these are the ones that can benefit you the most. And then it depends on your situation if you would use some of the other letters like the medical collections, goodwill letters, and things of that nature. But we have several different letters in the back office, but the letters are helping you get up to 192.5 points. So when you get something deleted and you see, oh, my score went up 40 points, congratulations, you're tapping into 192.5 points. Now, let's look in the chat. I asked the question and I said I was going to get to it. I said, what percentage is responsible for payment history? Chime. Somebody said Chime. Good. That's what I was talking about. Sometimes people have their paychecks deposited to Chime accounts, and then that helps with their credit utilization. But I said, what percentage is payment history and how many points is it worth? Somebody said 35, and it's worth 192.5 points. That was King Kev. Somebody said payment history is 35%, 35%. Somebody said 50%, 35. 192.5. So for the most part, everybody got it right. It's 35% of your score worth up to 192.5 points. So you got to know that, just so you can understand how to get the most points on your personal credit profile if you're missing any particular area. If you're not at the highest in that particular category, you got to figure out how to get the most. And if payment history is not at 100% or 95+%, then letters is something that can benefit you greatly. Dispute those items can benefit you greatly. Credit utilization. So how do you solve this problem? See, many people don't have a solution for this. And when I say many people, I'm talking about credit repair companies or, credit repair companies. A lot of times they're only focused on sending out letters, which is cool because that's 35% of your score. But what about this 35%? What about this 30%, which is 165 points? What about this? Most people don't have a solution for this. They don't know how to tell you what to do in order to get your credit card balances down, get that credit utilization lower, less than 10%. So how you get this down is by paying down your revolving debt. One of the ways that you can do that is by eliminating your debt. And if you pay off certain debts, that gives you more money to put towards your credit cards to pay that off a lot faster. Also, increasing your credit limit can also help with your credit utilization. So what do I mean by that? So if you're a person who, say you got $1,000 credit limit And let's just say that your credit or that your balance is 500. Let's say it's at 50%. Because if it's maxed out, they probably won't honor this. But if you've been maintaining good on-time payments, they see that you're, using the card the right way. Sometimes you can give them a call and say, hey, can I get a credit limit increase? So if you had $1,000 credit limit, you had a $500 balance on that card, you asked for a credit limit increase. Say they said, okay, you know what? We like how you've been using this card. We're willing to double your credit limit from $1,000 to $2,000. You still got that $500 balance, but instead of that $500 balance being a 50% utilization situation, it just went to a 25% utilization because your credit limit went up. Your credit limit went from $1,000 to $2,000, and that 500 stayed the same. So now you got less than 30% utilization. So that also can help your score. We still recommend less than 10%, but just in that example, increasing your credit limit also lowers your utilization because you got a larger threshold. Hopefully that makes sense. And then getting new credit can also help with credit utilization. So say you got that one card, that same card I talked about with $1,000 credit limit. And then say, instead of you getting a credit limit increase, you got a whole new card that was $1,000. Well, overall, your profile still has a credit, two cards that's $1,000 credit limit for overall $2,000. If you still had a $500 balance, you still at a 25% utilization because they're not just looking at one card, they factor in all revolving debt, all credit cards, and that can help your score as well. So these are strategies that can help you better your finance or better your credit from a credit utilization standpoint. In addition to that, one of the things that MyEcon prides ourselves in is helping people increase their cash flow. If you understand the W-4 strategy, most people are leaving $200 to $800 on the table just by overpaying the taxes. Most of the time, you can go to your job and get a pay raise without asking your boss using a W-4 strategy. If you're bringing in an extra $200 to $800 by correcting your W-4, guess what? You can use that extra money and pay off your credit cards faster as well. And most people are not talking about that. Most people don't understand that power and that solution. But in MyEcon, you can do that. So solution number one pays down your revolving debt. Solutions number 2 and 3 helps to lower your credit utilization by increasing your credit limit. And then the one that I gave you as it relates to increasing your cash flow, that helps you because it helps you minimize your taxes and get some of the money that you were giving away, but applying it in a way that allows you to boost your score by lowering your credit utilization and save you a ton of money on interest. Because when you got no balance or little to no balance, the interest rate doesn't really matter. Because if you have a low balance, even if the interest rate is 27%, what's 27% of zero? Zero. So it doesn't matter what the interest rate is if you have a low balance. So keep that in mind. All right, let's keep it moving. Credit history. So one of the things that can help, because listen, I'm giving you the factor, then I'm giving you the solution. The factor, the solution. We already broke down what they were, so I ain't got to go into that. But I want to give you the solutions to some of these areas. If you don't have good credit age, meaning that your score looks brand new or kind of newborn, because it might just be 1 year old. One of the things that can help with credit history is being added on someone who has a seasoned account, a parent, aunt, uncle, somebody that you're closely connected with, is being added as an authorized user. Not to be confused with buying a trade line, because it's some different lawsuits and things that have taken place because they're catching on to people just borrowing somebody else's account or paying to be on somebody else's account that wasn't truly theirs. But if it's a family member being added as an authorized user, it's a different it's a difference in that. But being added as an authorized user helps with your credit history if they have a seasoned account. This can also help with your credit utilization, honestly, if they have a large account and they understand how to make sure that they're paying their bills on time and keeping their utilization low. It can help you in those areas as well. One of the queens on our team, Angela Sims, she understands this and she positioned her kids to have 700 plus credit by the time they graduate. Understanding this authorized user strategy. First, she got her credit in order, got a husband or mom's credit in order, got her kids added as authorized user. By the time they was actually ready to use their own credit, 700 plus, just off understanding this. So we know it works. It's not guesswork. We know it works. So find a relative or a friend with a credit card with good history. Make sure they have good history, good paying down habits, because all of that has a negative or positive effect on your score. And it has to be added to their account as an authorized user. The card owner does not have to give you the card. This gives them some sense of security, because if they thought they had to give you a card and you might run their balance up, it's an automatic no. But if they know they don't have to give you a card, then it's like, okay, I can help you out in that area. I can help you leverage my credit. So it's just a matter of seeing if you have somebody in the family that qualifies. If not, then you have to become that authorized user. You have to boss up in the area of your credit so you can be the person who breaks that credit generational curse. So that's it. New credit. Let's talk about it. New credit as it relates to the solutions, adding new trade lines, not buying trade lines, adding new trade lines. So if you don't have any new credit and you're not tapping into that, or it's been a while since you used your credit, it may be okay to open up a new account. Whether it's a department store, secure credit card, a new credit card, getting your rental history reported, credit builder loan, just something that says that you still have the ability to pay on time, overtime. So sometimes it makes sense to get new accounts, or if you're in the market for doing something with your credit anyway, like a vehicle or some type of loan, then that can eventually help your credit. Initially, it might take a brief hit, but sometimes a new account can help you if your profile needs it. And credit builder loans, basically how they work, they help you build your credit and emergency fund simultaneously. Now, back in the days, it was just you going to a bank and saying, hey, I want a credit builder loan. They may give you a $3,000 loan on paper that you're paying off. But truth be told, you're paying the money and you never lose the money. So say it's $3,000, you might be paying $300 a month. You do that for 10 months. You fulfill the $300 loan fulfillment, but that money is still yours. So you can go to the bank and get that $3,000 because it was just a loan that was set up. They never really loaned you money. They just set it up so that you can get some positive on-time payments reported. So that's still available today, but there are some new things in place, like the self-lender account that allows you to pay like $20 a month and get that same benefit. And they report to all three bureaus. You never lose the money. They put it into a particular account. They charge their fees, whatever their fees are, but it helps your score as well if you need new credit. Not everybody needs this, but we're just putting it out there because sometimes this is what people need, but you got to know what factors you're already good at and what areas you need some strengthening in so you can determine whether this is a solution for you. And then credit mixture is just a matter of you understanding, okay, I might have some installment there because I have a car note or a loan, but I don't have a credit card. Okay, then you need to get some revolving debt, which is the credit card or the line of credit or the chime account like we discussed earlier. Or it might be the other way around. You might have some type of revolving credit, but you might not have something that is like a self-lender or a loan or a car loan or a credit builder loan. So having that on your account and having more than one shows that you have versatility. You're diversified in the things or the type of payments you're able to make. And having a balance helps strengthen your score because this gives you up to 55 points. This is 10% of your score. And once you complete the first 4 credit scoring factors that we went over, you will naturally have good credit mixture already. So if you just go in the order that I listed, you will already be in position to have good credit mixture to the point where, you won't even have to worry about this. But this is just a good ratio. 3 active revolving accounts to 1 installment. And this varies because we've had 800 scores without having this same ratio. But it's just good to have both items reporting on your score. And based on what you see on your profile, the quality of your profile, you'll know whether or not you need new accounts or not. So that's it in a nutshell. Understanding all of these things as it relates to your overall credit. And this is how you break those generational curses when it comes to bettering your credit. I won't go over the back office and the My Credit system per se, unless a question leads me to that direction. But what you need to know is all of these things and knowing that you have the solution to any of these areas. It doesn't matter what it is: payment history, credit utilization, credit history, credit mix, or new credit. You got a solution in your back office, but it requires you to log in and go through the video step by step. And each month, make sure you're doing something. Each week, make sure you're doing something. But when it comes to the letter, you're just sending those out on a monthly basis. But in the meantime, because sometimes people send out letters and they're wondering what they should do. Okay, do you have any credit cards? If so, let's set a goal to start knocking those down as often as you possibly can so that your score is boosting regardless of waiting on the letters. So you want to be doing all of those things simultaneously. And month by month, you should be seeing progress. Now, right now, what I want to do is open it up for questions. And then from there, we'll transition into the builder side. It's already 8:50, so I don't plan on being on here too much longer. But I do want to open it up for questions. Let me go ahead and stop the share for a second and then set it to where you are able to unmute. Hold on. All right. You should be able to unmute. Does anybody have a question pertaining to anything we covered with the credit, my credit system, MyEcon as a whole? Any questions? No question is a bad question. All right, then I'm going to check the chat. If you're not in a position to unmute, feel free to drop it in the chat as well. Are hard inquiries bad marks? Great question. Are hard inquiries bad marks? So, hard inquiries, hold your question, whoever just unmuted, mute for a second and then come back in with your question. But hard inquiries do cause a negative impact on your score. However, it's just a matter of knowing that sometimes it takes a hard inquiry in order to get a new account that reports positively. So when you're applying for an unsecured credit card, it took you the hard inquiry in order to get the credit card. So it's no big deal. You have to do that in order to get it. Or if you apply for a car, it took that inquiry in order to get the vehicle. This is when the hard inquiries are a real big issue. If you apply for a car and you didn't go through a bank, which I recommend if you're going to get a car and you're not paying cash for it, then you want to go through a bank or a credit union. So that way they just pull your credit one time. They give you the amount that you qualify for. Instead of you going to a dealership and they run your credit 12 times, 15 times, 10 times, 7 times. I've seen, so many different times. Those inquiries, and even though they say, well, they just ran it in a short amount of time, it's not going to affect you. Those hard inquiries do have a negative impact on your profile, and it's showing up in abundance. So those are the hard inquiries that have a negative impact. And then the accounts that you might apply for and got denied for, so you never had an account with it, it just shows as a hard inquiry. Because think of it this way. When it comes to hard inquiries, they just look at it like, okay, this person got their hands out trying to get money from all of these different companies. So how does that look? If you're a lender or a creditor and they see that you've been applying for a lot of different things, they look at it like, hold on, this person is always asking for money. That's the mindset. And then if you didn't get qualified or you didn't get approved for it, that has a negative impact on your score as well. Now, we got a solution for that because you can use the letters and everything that we teach. And it's some even faster solutions that are available as well that can help you get those inquiries removed, but it does negatively impact your score. That's a part of the new credit. So when I talk about new credit being 10%, 55 points, hard inquiries fall into that area. So hopefully that answers your question. Somebody was about to unmute. Feel free to unmute now and ask your question. I'm looking to see if I have any other questions here. All right, somebody said, I've never seen that in my credit back office. So the presentation is not in the my credit system. This is in the document sections inside of MyEcon. And I'll show, for those of you who stick around for the builder side of the training, I'll show you exactly how to find it. But this is in the document section. So the my credit system goes through all of the factors naturally just by you going through the trainings, going through the tutorials. So it's going to take you through that process. This right here is just educating you on how it all works so you can have a high level understanding of why you're doing what you're doing when you're going through the my credit system. All right, I hear somebody unmuted. You got a question?
Yes, sir. What about soft inquiries?
Soft inquiries usually don't have an impact, and it's usually the soft inquiries are if you're kind of, putting your own stuff, or these other companies are just trying to see what you can get pre-approved for, so they usually don't have an impact, So, soft inquiries, you don't usually have to worry about them. If it's excessive, then you can always keep them from being able to pull your report by doing certain freezes and things of that nature. But those soft pulls, they're not a big issue.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, somebody said, if you were an authorized user and owe money as an authorized user, but the account is closed, is it best to dispute to remove? Great question. Yes, you can go ahead and dispute that account. It should be fairly easy to get removed because you was added as an authorized user to someone else's account. So it's going to be some things that don't match. So should be fairly easy to remove. Another good reason to get authorized user account removed is if you see that that particular, say it's still open, and you see that that person, whoever added you as an authorized user, that they're not using their credit responsibly anymore. They're making late payments. They have high utilization. Then you might want to ask them, hey, can you go ahead and remove me as an authorized user? Or even if you go through the dispute process and include that account to get removed, then, you know, that's cool. But it's easier to just contact them and say, hey, remove it as an authorized user if the account is still open, due to the fact that their negative new habits is causing a negative impact on your score. But if it's closed, then definitely you can use those letters and get yourself removed, or get the account removed itself, and it should be fairly easy. Hopefully that answers your question. Great question. All right, do you have to wait 25 to 30 days for a response before sending each letter, like identity letter, to the next letter? Great question. So when it comes to the identity, when you're sending that letter out, you can give it about 10 days, 10 to 14 days before you send the next letter. However, when it comes to the main letters, like the verification letter, the method of verification letter, the violation letter, when it comes to those main letters, you do want to give a 30 to 35 day window, because they have a time frame to where they can go through a proper investigation. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you can get stuff removed well before the 30 days. Like, you might send out the letter and 2 weeks later you see that something got removed. That's perfectly fine. But you want to at least give that window. That way, when you come with that second letter or that third letter, there's no excuses. You know, they had more than enough time to receive the letter, more than enough time to make a decision and delete or do what they're going to do, more than enough time to respond with some type of correspondence letter. They have more than enough time. So the next letter applies even more pressure. So when you send those letters, give them that window, because by law, they have a certain time frame that they can go through a proper investigation. Because remember, when you're sending out those letters and you're trying to get them to verify certain accounts or prove their method of verification, sometimes they're contacting these collection companies to get them to prove, because the burden of proof is on these collection companies. So they're contacting them, and sometimes they're waiting on a response. So they got a 30-day window to go through that proper investigation. So yes, you want to give it 30 to 35 days. Typically, when it comes to the identity letter, then you can mail that second letter or that next letter a little bit faster. Hopefully that answers your question. Great question. Great question. All right, I think I saw another one pop up before. All right, what's the verified proof? Disputers are expecting to like photo of ID or social security or signature. So I think I'm answering your question correctly, or about to answer your question correctly. So when we talk about the method of verification, it's a list of expected to see. Okay, it's a list of things, and this is your homework. Go through the My Credit System, tutorial by tutorial, but you want to look at that method of verification letter. If neither of you have seen that method of verification letter, I highly recommend you look at it, because it's a long list of things, the checkpoints of things that the letter is asking them to prove. Okay, what date was it? You know, do you have a signature? Who was the person? You know, the office, all of these different things that many times they're not able to prove. Sometimes people say, you know, they want to see a wet ink signature. That's a big one. But it's a list of things that they want them to be able to bring to the table to say, hey, this item does belong to them because I have all of these things. And all of the questions that they're asking is based on the FCRA law or consumer law. These are things that they're supposed to have in their records that are accurate, verifiable, and not in error. So that way they have a right to report it on their credit reports. In many cases, they can't prove it, so they have to remove it. So you definitely want to look at that method of verification letter to see how powerful it is, because all of our letters are really just setting them up for the next one. It's chess, not checkers, literally, when it comes to these letters. We send a verification letter. It's not lying or denying. It's saying, hey, I want you to verify this account. I see these things. These are hurting my score. See this collection, this charge off, yada, yada. I need you to verify this. And we just wait. Okay, they kept it on there. They said it was verified. Round two. Come with that method of verify. Okay, you said it was verified. What method did you use to verify? Just setting them up. So it's chess. Literally, we already got all of the moves planned out to the point where when we send the first one, we know what the second one is already. We just want to see if they're going to do the right thing and remove it. And if they don't, then we come with that next. So it's all about using the FCRA and the consumer laws to your advantage. Any other questions? Let's see if I missed any. A hard inquiry bad. Nope, got those. And you should be able to unmute. If somebody wants to unmute and ask a question, now's the time.
I have one question. I was dealing with Midland reference to
Hey,
buying.
who am I with?
Hello?
Yes, who am I speaking with?
Oh, Michelle Lewis.
Hey, Michelle, talk to me.
Okay, I'm dealing with Midland. So anyway, they bought something from Credit One. So I've done everything. I asked them to verify. I also sent the information. I want to find out who verified the bad debt and so forth. I sent everything out to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian certified. But it's been 2 weeks, and I'm looking for the statement, the slip to come back to say they received it. I haven't gotten the postal thing back yet, so I'm just waiting, and I'm getting stuff to my email saying they're working on it, so forth. So I guess I just have to play the waiting game to see what happens or what.
How long ago when you sent the letter?
It'll be 2 weeks Saturday.
And which letter was it again?
I sent the one to find out who verified the first letter I sent. And
it was the first letter?
No, the second.
The second, the method of verification. Okay.
Right, the second one. I haven't received any thing back to find out they received the certified mail that I sent them. And it will be 2 weeks Saturday. So what should I do? Should I get in contact with them to see whether they received it or what? Because I haven't got anything to mail.
Gotcha. And when you sent the verified or the certified letter, did you send it with a return receipt that notifies you when they received it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So in that case, you still got a little time. It's a chance that it could have made it and you not received the return receipt just yet. That happens. But I would still give it that 30 to 35 days. And then what you want to do is you want to look at your report, see what changes were made when you refresh your report 30 to 35 days later. See what items you disputed, and hopefully you keep me a record and see, is that item still there? If that item is still there, then they didn't do what you wanted them to do, and you can come with that third round, that third letter, which is, hey, my rights have been violated. Y'all haven't proven this item that I disputed, and I still will go with that third letter. So you still got time to receive that, the return receipt, but give it that 30 to 35 days and send that third letter. Don't hesitate to send that third letter when that time comes. Keep, like anybody who's sending out letters, make sure you have some type of reminder in your calendar that lets it be known. Okay, I sent the letter on this day. 30 to 35 days later, I got a reminder that says, okay, let me check my report, see if that item was deleted or these items were deleted. If not, I'm firing off that next letter.
I did
keep applying pressure.
Okay, I did receive something, an email from Equifax saying they're working on my dispute in my email, and even Experian did the same thing. So I will be checking to see whether any changes have been made to my credit report.
Okay, and sometimes they do that. They've been sending things online because it saves them money. They ain't got to send nothing in the mail. They can just send something in the email. Then keep that for your record. So just kind of make a note of it, see what they say. Sometimes they send some type of stall tactic saying, hey, this don't look like this was you. They do all kind of things. But keep anything that they send as your records. Even email is considered to be a paper trail. So definitely make note of that. They say they're working on it. Okay. You're going to be looking and waiting for 30 to 35 days, that window, and see if they did what you wanted them to do. If not, fire off with that next level. Keep applying pressure.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Great question. Any other question?
I have a question.
Talk
and
to
I
me.
say, if they do the letters and to correct your dispute, it has the history. It saves it for them. They can use it to go back and see when it dates when you do it. If they do they click on the correct your dispute letter.
Hold on, say that again. I think I missed what you said.
If they do not the templates, but they click on the correct your dispute letter, it saves every letter that you do in there, so they can go back and keep up with the dates. Go back and log in. It keeps the letters when you do them. It keeps them for them.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, what Angela Sims is talking about, she said, if it's two different ways to go about sending out the letters. You can print out the letters by pulling them up in a document, editing the areas that need to be edited, all of the red areas, and you can mail them off. But she's saying if you use the create your dispute letter option, which allows you to create it within the system, then it saves all of your letters for you. So it kind of serves as a digital file cabinet. So that way you can always refer back to it if need be. So yeah, that's a good point. So whichever option works for you. The only difference is because sometimes people ask which one works best, which one should I do? They both work, it's the same letter. But when you print that off yourself, sometimes you can add more items. You might want to dispute 10 things. Well, when you print it off, then you can add as many things as you need to. When you're creating your own dispute letter, it's a smaller amount, but it's still effective. So that being said, it's just up to you. But if you use
I'm gonna
that,
say, yeah, if you click the button, it will add more box to it when you click it. It will add more box to it.
okay, so I got it to where it can add more boxes to it now.
Yeah, you click it, it'll add more boxes.
Okay, perfect. So good.
Then,
So yeah.
Then I had another question. One of the members had on the first letter, it says 30 days, but the last 3 letters, it says 15 days. That's the question I had.
Yeah. So apply that. So if it says the 15 days, you honor it. Typically, it's the 30 days to the fact that they got their time frame. But when you keep applying pressure, sometimes it is a 15-day window, and there's no excuses. So yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
So if you those letters and what she's talking about, it has details on how you need to send it, what you need to pay attention to, so that way I just use the 30-day window because that's the standard, and you're not going to be updating your credit report every 15 days. When you are using any credit monitoring, most of the time they're not going to let you refresh it until it's been at least 30 days. So I just use that as a guide. But she's right. Sometimes it might be just a 15-day window. Just got to look at the details of the instructions that are included in the letter. Good point. Any other questions? Talk to me. Let me check the chat. I seen something come through. Thank you. Letters are saved. Good. Are these dispute steps good for business credit or just personal? This is more of a personal credit thing. I'm not in a position to just advise or tell you how to dispute when it comes to business credit. There's going to be some similarities. There's going to be some things that overlay and apply in both areas. But this is primarily personal credit for the point. Oh, there's Voice. What up, point? Who asked about the business credit? Absolutely. Who's about to ask a question? Go ahead. I'm listening.
I have one more question. I live in the state of Maryland, and when a business put a bad credit debt on your report, and they don't take you to court, in the state of Maryland, they say 3 years they can stay on it. Can I fall back on that as far as you using it as leverage as far as my credit?
So you're saying they sent something saying they was going to take you to court, but it's been over 3 years?
Right. In the state of Maryland, say, the statute of limitations, 3 years for a bad debt. They didn't take me to court, but it's on my credit report.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, the statute of limitation is basically just the time frame that they have to sue for uncollected debt, whatever that may be. So that said, if it's still on your report, you can still apply pressure using these letters because you want to get it removed. You want it off of your report. It's still having a negative impact on your score, even though it's beyond the statute of limitation. It's still negatively affecting your score. So you would still send those letters. Hopefully that answers your question. But if it's been beyond the 3-year window, then it's just at that point to where they can't sue for it anymore. Now, be careful of this because sometimes this does happen. Sometimes it'll be these collection companies, they'll revive it or resell it to somebody else just so they can report it new. So they kind of resets that 3-year clock. So you got to be mindful of that because that's them acting unlawfully. That's violating your rights as well. So that's one of the things to keep your eye on.
Yes, it has happened to me, what you're saying.
Absolutely.
They restate it like it's a new debt.
Okay. So yeah. So definitely send those letters and, let them know, hey, your rights are being violated. Keep all of your documentation because sometimes you may have to use that if it comes to a time where you have to litigate or hold them accountable and, even get some compensation sometimes. There are people starting to wake up and realize these consumer laws can get them paid $1,000 per account, sometimes even more than that. So keep all of that for your records.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Great question. I think I saw one more in the chat. Unmute if you have a question. I don't have no problem answering as many questions as y'all have. How do you download the Office in case the internet goes down? How do you download the Office? I'm guessing you're talking about download the letters. You can go in there and download the letters. If you got access to the My Credit system, you can download the letters so you can have them and then save them in your docs, whatever doc you use, whether it's Google Doc, Microsoft Word, if that's what you're asking. That way you can have them, whenever you need them. But the internet going down, the whole world will shake up if it was down that long. But yeah, you can download the letters if need be. Who else are there? My business offers, but contact you, Ms. Smith, about the letter. Okay, somebody said they're gonna contact us directly. Oh, do you have to unfreeze the accounts when you're ready to start applying for loans, card credit, or to be fine to keep them on freeze when applying for things? Great question. So when you're going through the My Credit system and it comes to freezing entities, you're freezing the secondary bureaus, not the main three. We're not talking about freezing Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Now, if you did freeze those and you wanted to apply for something, then you would put a temporary, unfreeze on it so you can apply for it. And then if you want to freeze it back, you can. But when it comes to these secondary bureaus like LexisNexis, Innovis, SageStream, those main ones, ARS, the main ones that we had you to freeze, you can leave those froze because those are just middlemen. They just kind of in a way anyway, reporting information against your approval. So them staying froze is not going to affect you in terms of applying for things. So it's okay to keep those frozen. It's when it comes to those secondary bureaus. So great question, boys. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a difference between those entities that we have you to freeze and the main three, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. We want you to freeze those secondary ones because they in the way. Let's get them out of the way so they're not reporting inaccurate information throughout your credit restoration process. All right, somebody said, Experian, send me something. I have to contact you about what it means. I'm engulfed in. Okay. Yeah, if you got to ask us a more direct personal question, send it to us and we'll address it. Do you have to wait 20 to 30 days for a response before sending each letter? Okay, now I addressed that. What's the verified proof? Yep, answered that. Are these dispute steps good for? Okay, I already got that. Please stop. Perfect. Answer perfectly. Perfect. Do you stop? Okay. Do you stop paying on credit cards that say they have closed the account and follow up with letters? Great question. All right. So if it's a credit card that has closed the account, but it's still with the creditor that you went into the agreement with, then in my personal opinion, you should still go ahead and pay what it is you agreed upon as long as it's still in their hands. Because if it's still in their hands, then they just closed it based on whatever factors changed about your credit profile. Your score could have dropped, so they decided. Some late payments could have took place, so they decided to close the account to where you can use the credit card. But if it's still in their possession, then go ahead and honor it and, pay it and do whatever you can to get it wiped out. That's that. If they sold it and it's gone to a collection status, or they've done what's known as a charge-off, so they've taken a tax deduction and been compensated for it, then you go ahead and dispute it. You're using the dispute letters to address the things that have gone to collections and the things that may be in charge-off status. So hopefully that makes sense. If it's still in their possession and they just closed it, then you want to make sure you handle it before they send it to collection. Because if you can avoid a collection showing up or a charge-off showing up, then by all means do so. However, if it's already in that position to where it's already in charge-off status, already in collection status, then that's what the letters are for. So hopefully they help somebody. Hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions? Right, figured that. Okay, I think I just answered that. Yep.
Can you explain the difference between the charge-off and the collection?
Yes. So the difference between the charge-off and a collection is this. So a collection is basically creditor said, okay, I'm not going to be able to collect on this debt. Let me sell it to one of these collection companies who are in business to buy debts that people, haven't paid. And then their goal is to hound you and see if they can collect any amount more than what they paid. So for example, if you had a collection, say it was $1,000, and this collection company bought your debt from the creditor. And a lot of times they're buying these debts in bulk, because if it's a bank, they might have 1,000 people that, that are at the collection phase, and they may just pay a bulk amount. But if your account is worth to them, let's say your account is worth $200, well, they're willing to try to hound you and see if they can collect whatever amount you're willing to pay. So that way they at least are in profit. So collection, basically the account has been sold to a collection company. Now, you didn't go into an agreement with them. So in many cases, if you do pay them, then it's not going to come off of your credit report. Because the only way you want to go about paying a collection is if you get something in writing that says they're going to delete it based on what agreed amount you pay. So it's called a pay for delete letter. That's available in the back office as well. You get that pay for delete letter, you get them to agree that they're going to delete it based on whatever you pay, and then they'll delete it when you pay it. If not, then you can hold them accountable based on an agreement. But that's usually the last case scenario. You want to use the letters and get those collections removed, because basically the creditor has sold the account to the collection company. The charge off is basically a similar scenario. The creditor is saying, okay, say it's Bank of America. They're saying, okay, I'm not going to be able to collect on this. I'm not going to sell it to a collection company. I'm going to just take the tax deduction instead. So say they're not able to collect that $1,000. They're going to say, okay, I'm going to just take this as a $1,000 loss in my books. So when I file my taxes, yeah, I had this account, but I wasn't able to collect this $1,000. Let me take a $1,000 loss. And that tax deduction benefits them because it offsets their profits, and losses and things of that nature. So charge off is basically the company taking the tax deduction, and the collection is basically them selling it and them getting whatever money they accept, and they're selling it to a collection company. And now the collection company is trying to collect it from you. Great question. So hopefully they help. But both of them, you treat them the same way when it comes to sending out letters. You treat them like, hey, both of these are having a negative impact on my score. It's affecting, up to 192.5 points. Let me dispute these items and find errors, inaccuracies, unverifiable things that I see going on, so I can increase the odds of getting them removed. Great question. Any other questions out there? All right. I'm also learning how to offset debt. Good. Financial literacy is key. It helps with credit as well. That's, a big part of it. So yes, absolutely. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions in the chat. If I missed any, then unmute. Going once, twice, perfecto. So, hey, it's important for us to use this credit as a tool. Break the generational curse of bad credit for yourself, and then it allows you to break it for others, your family, those that you're connected to, because it's a big deal when you realize that low credit scores are the reason why a lot of these neighborhoods are, not an area that most people want to reside. It's high crime. It's, they are okay with putting certain companies in these neighborhoods, liquor stores and payday loan, that digs a deeper hole and puts people in a deeper situation, a deeper depression. So we all have a responsibility. We reach as many people as we possibly can, spreading the good news of financial literacy, financial, credit education. We do as much as we can to reach as many people as possible. So we're doing our part and some. But each of us have the ability to do similar things, so we can make sure that we're uplifting and making the world better, making the nation better, and increasing the consciousness of financial literacy. You see, we live in a world where we're conditioned for failure. Now, before I go into the mission statement, stick around if you are interested in sharing this information with others. And I'm going to just go over how you can do the third part, which helps you increase your learning. I talked about earlier, first thing you do is learn. And repetition sometimes is one of the best ways to learn. But then you apply what it is that you learn. You go through the credit system, you're sending out the letters. And that helps increase your learning and your knowledge base as well. And you realize, dang, I know more 90 days later than I did when I first joined. I know more 6 months later. I know more a year later, because you've been applying and you've been a product of the product. But the third way that you learn, and this is probably the most impactful in my opinion, is that you teach. When you start teaching others, you learn on another level. You're reinforcing the information that you once was learning or once applying. So you're hearing it just by teaching it, but you're also teaching somebody else, and that puts you in a position to where it becomes something you can just talk about off the top of your head. I wasn't always able to spit out all 5 factors. I wasn't always able to answer questions from the hip if somebody asked a question, but me learning, applying, teaching, learning, applying, teaching. A combination of that put me in a position to where if a person asks a credit question, it's a good chance that I have some type of direction I can point them in, or a solution to their problem, or a method that can help them. So teaching is a key piece to learning and a key piece to you truly breaking the generational curse. So if you want to stick around to the builder side, where we're going to, I'm going to show you how to start tapping into the teaching part, even if you just start small. It doesn't take much. Just teach a little bit. Teach a little bit about what you know, and that helps you and helps whoever sees what it is that you're teaching on. That said, we'll get into that here shortly. You see, we live in a world where we're conditioned for failure. And oftentimes we have been programmed or fooled into mediocrity. So people find themselves living like peasants instead of the royalty that they were meant to be. But you see here in the royalty movement, we see the king in you. We see that queen in you from start to finish. It's just time for you to take your seat on the throne, because this is where we uplift your character, your confidence, and your cash flow. As royalty, you should establish a solid financial foundation that will soon lead to your abundance and thriving empire. We want you to take your seat on the throne because you are royalty. So look, all right, let's get into the second part. If you're building, you're sticking on, I want you to say royalty, unmute, and say royalty. I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to get on up out of here. I'm going to let you have the rest of your night. I mean, you unmute and say royalty.
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 You ain't got like that. Miss Smith, if you on, tell them how to say it. Tell them how to say it, Miss Smith. If you listening to me, unmute. Show them how it's done.
Where's she at?
She ain't on. Nah, she on. She probably ain't in a position to unmute. All right, let's see.
Busy. Trust me, Geminis are always busy. We saving the world 1 day, 1 minute at a time.
That's right.
Send her my love. I miss you guys. And I'm trying to get a tech person so I can keep up with you guys.
You know
But
how
I'm
we do.
doing a lot of nationality status because I can't do anything. Everything is relating back to nationality. So I'm just overwhelmed. I got to hire a tech person for the business. I'm working on it, and I appreciate y'all help. And I definitely like seeing her. She's very inspiring to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. All right,
both you guys are.
I love it. I love it. We appreciate the kind words, 100%. 5 in the chat if you can see my screen. I don't want to be before you too long unless y'all got some questions that keep me here. But drop a 5 in the chat if you can see my screen. All right, Akil, what up, Quinn? I see you. Evelyn, all right, I see the 5s popping in. iPhone users, yep. All right, perfect. So, right here, matter of fact, let me show y'all where I got this from. Hopefully, I can do this without showing too much. Okay, let's go here. All right, so this should look familiar. When you log into your MyEcon back office, this is what it looks like. It shows your membership, financial success membership, all of the things that you have access to, yada, yada. Business Management Center, keep going. Then it's a couple other tabs. All right, Document Center. The Document Center is loaded with value. A lot of people don't, tap into this because they don't feel that it is of importance for whatever reason. But I beg to differ. It's a lot of good nuggets and value in here, and these documents get, updated periodically based on need. As you can see, it was something that was updated at the beginning of this month, and that was the common tax deduction. That's talking about how you can make MyEcon tax deductible using basic common tax deduction. But what I want to go over today, and this positions you to teach at the level that you're at. Don't feel like you got to be the expert, because I promise you, when I first started teaching about credit, I was just as green as the lawn. So I had no clue, but I knew enough to at least be 1 chapter ahead of the student. I want y'all to know that the teacher only has to be 1 chapter ahead of the student. Once I knew that, I knew, okay, I know more than somebody else. So if I know just a little bit more than somebody else, that means I can teach at my level and benefit them in some way. So it's not about just being an expert. It's just about you being one chapter ahead of the student. You just being in MyEcon puts you one chapter ahead of several students, and sometimes many chapters ahead. You just hopping on tonight's training and seeing the flow of what we went through push you chapters ahead. You understanding the 5 factors that we went over puts you many chapters ahead. Very important. So you don't feel as though you don't know enough. Because sometimes people use that as an excuse, or they feel, like it's imposter syndrome to teach people about credit just because their credit ain't 850. Now, you know more than somebody else. So that is positioning you to be worthy of teaching somebody else. So that said, all I'm doing is going over the same slides that I went over with you, but letting you know how to access it so you can take advantage of this. And for those of you who are creating videos, I highly recommend you take pieces of this presentation and just teach on it. I don't care if it's a 20-second video, 30-second video, just speak on it, because we need more people teaching, more people educating. Initially, when Royalty was started, we had so many people. Let me go ahead and mute. I heard some background noise. We had so many people educating, and it was long form videos. Back when we was initially doing videos and teaching people to duplicate, we were doing long form videos, like 20-minute videos, 30-minute videos. A lot of y'all probably couldn't even fathom sitting in front of a camera for 30 minutes straight teaching about finances. Why do I say that? Well, now we're in a day and age that you can get your point across and get a good message in 30 seconds. All you need is to be able to give them a nugget. And they may want more information, or they keep following, keep tuning in, and next thing you know, they're joining your business, or they're asking you, some questions, and that leads you to eventually they join your business. So understand that we're in the day and age now that people have short attention spans, so that's perfect. Let's take advantage of it. If it's 20 seconds of value that you can give them, that's all that you need. And now you have the confidence to know that you're at least sharing something that is proven, that works. And as you're applying it yourself, then you have the conviction to know that it works because you're applying it for yourself. But in this document center, you'll see right here on the presentations where it says the My Credit System presentation PowerPoint. That's pretty much what I went over with the training. And then underneath that, the My Credit System presentation talking points. So if you're ever wondering, okay, how can I have a better understanding of going through these slides or these presentations and teaching others if I don't know what I need to say? See, me now, I can shoot from the hip, give examples and stories based on, my knowledge and things that I've been able to experience as I've been teaching people over time. So I don't need the talking points. However, for those of you who are brand new to this, you can take this slide, look at the talking points, and know what key points you want to go over. And then, of course, you can add your own sauce to it, add your own swag to it, add your own style, add your own example, story, scenario to bring it home, to put that personality to it so that they know that you're a real person and you're relatable. So this is not trying to create, some robots, so to speak. This is you putting yourself in front of people and teaching them, and now you become the expert. And by expert, I just mean you're just one chapter ahead of them. You become the person who they trust. You become that person who they're like, you know what? I've been on their page, and now I see them giving more value. You know what? Let me keep tuning in. And now your following increase. Now your value increases. And when your value and the value that you give increases, then your net worth increases. Your deposits increase. The money that you earn increases. You create another stream of income. You become an asset. So what I'm about to share with you today positions you to become an asset in the area of credit if you care to do it. Now, it's optional. However, based on the video that I shared at the beginning of how credit is such an impactful thing as it relates to certain areas that people live in, then it's important to have as many people as possible. It's over, whatever the number was, 60 million people who have bad credit. That said, it's a lot of people that we can reach, and we can't reach them all. So we need all hands on deck. So how do we go about doing it? So what I'm about to go over now is that My Credit System with the talking points. And basically it shows you how to go through something like this. If you wanted to do a full presentation, say you wanted to do a full presentation video, YouTube, Zoom, you wanted to host a meeting on your own, you wanted to, host a webinar, this is something you can use for a webinar. Or if you want to take this and create little snippets to where you might have 1-minute video, 30-second video, 2-minute video, or if you just want to keep it in the short form content, 60 seconds or less typically is what you would do. But basically, it's all of the slides that we went over, but it has some talking points. And basically it says, hey, thank you for attending the My Credit System workshop. So it's set up for a person who wants to do this as a workshop or online webinar. So, you can apply how you see fit. I'm saying you can adjust this to some short form content using these talking points. But it says, we're excited to share some information with you today. After you complete this workshop, you will have what you need to make the right decision regarding your personal credit. Before we get started, I would like to have a few people who have used our system to give a quick testimony on how their credit score has increased since using the My Credit System. When we first started teaching about credit, we would take this pretty much and do it at a library. And if we had somebody in the room who had a testimony, we would have them to share their testimony, because testimonies are the thing that people need to see, because it lets them know it's real. They're able to see themselves in their personal story. So that's why it's there. But when it comes to using this to teach others, you may not do this per se. Or you might say, hey, here's somebody who benefited from the information we're sharing. And you might show a screenshot of a testimony. So it's different ways to do it, but just use this as a guide and you put your own spin to it. So if it was me, I would, anytime that I wanted to share some nuggets, I would probably close it out and say, hey, this is, after whatever the education I dropped, I might say, hey, here's somebody who was able to benefit from the information that I'm sharing. She was able to get 3 negative items deleted. Let me know if I can assist you in any way. Have your closure, give a call to action. Hey, comment credit if you, would like assistance with your score. So use these tools and then create little videos that can give them a call to action. So this may be a video within itself. Hey, I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but here are the facts when it comes to credit. Everybody is interested in credit, but did you know that 68 million people had bad credit? That could be you or someone you know. 40 million have errors on their report. What if that's you? What if you had errors on your report that is keeping you from having this credit score that you want? $3 trillion credit industry, and that was back in 2018. And did you know that 79% of the people who disputed errors on their report were able to get them removed? So what if you were part of the 40 million people who had errors on their report? That means that your credit is lower than it should be. You might be at a 650 when you should be at a 700. We teach people, give people access to all the letters they need in order to take their credit from where it is to where they want it to be. Comment below 750 if you want to know how you can get access to our system that's helping people all across the nation, like this person right here, take their credit to the next level. Now I'm just freestyling, flowing, but you see the point. Take something like this, call out the bullet points, possibly share a testimony, but give them a call to action. Call to action is going to be key. Every video you do should have some form of call to action. I like telling people to drop a keyword because it just makes it fun for them. Sometimes I may say something funny, that, has people come in certain things. One time I think I had people saying boom, because the song said something about boom. I like, come in boom if you need, help with taking your credit to the next level. Or I might have the words pop on the screen that says comment boom if you need just something funny. But most of the time I might just say, hey, comment ready, comment how, comment info, just simple stuff that people are willing to do. And then from there, you go through the normal flow, having them send you an inbox. But you get the point. You take something like this, there's one slide, you turn it into a short 30-second video, and you're just educating. You're just one chapter ahead of them. Most people didn't know this many people had bad credit. Most people don't know that 40 million people got an error on their report. So what they're going to do is think, man, I might have an error on my report that's keeping my score from being where it needs to be. I got a 650, but it could be a 700 if I corrected these errors. And 79% of the people who dispute it actually get the error addressed or get it removed. You know what? There's hope. I can possibly do this. So these are just little nuggets and angles that you can take using what you have in the back office, so you become the teacher that's helping others while you're helping yourself. Because I promise you, as you go through these and you're teaching or you're doing little clips, it's only going to make you better. It's only going to make you more of an expert. It's only going to make you more of a trusted source, somebody who's of value. And me personally, if the page on social media, if the page isn't providing some level of value, I'm unfollowing or not following and not seeing it, because I want to control my timeline. I like value-based information hitting my portals. I want to see things that are of value, hear things that are of value. Don't get me wrong, there's still some stuff that seeps through. But if you become a page or a platform or a person that they can see value in, then you become somebody who they're willing to do business with. They're willing to join your MyEcon organization. They're willing to be a part of the movement that you're a part of. And as a result, you create another stream of income, you become an asset, and you help increase your net worth. And I didn't even go over these bullet points, but they're all here that you can just use as a guide. So like in this example, instead of them saying that 79% or saying 40 million have an error on their report. They're saying, look, 1 in 5 people have an error on their report. That's pretty much saying if you're around 5 people, 1 of y'all got an error on your report. So that makes them take a look at themselves and people that are around them and understand, you know what? It's a lot of people who need this information, who can benefit from this info. Credit score. This might be a whole nother video clip. Some people don't know the range. Some people think they got to get all 800 points, all 850 points. Some people don't know that everybody starts off with 300. This is a video clip that you can use and just educate. And now as you're educating, you're getting smarter. You're starting to memorize this stuff and you're going to know it. And now when you look at your own credit profile, you're like, dang, I know exactly what I need to do because I just said this in the video. I just taught this. And it's not coming from a place of you faking the funk. No, you're learning and teaching as you go, but still be applying it in the process. And you let them know, hey, I'm on my journey as well. Since I've been doing this, I've been able to boost my score 45 points. Whatever it is, you just continue to share your journey and they'll see your progress. And a lot of times people are willing to rock with a person who's just starting the journey because it doesn't make them feel so small. Sometimes people don't want to, they feel as though they're going to be looked at a certain kind of way if they're not at a certain level. But if they see you're on a journey, they're like, you know what? I want to start with somebody who just getting, started as well. And sometimes they're willing to do that. And in this movement, if a person gets started with you, you're not alone. You plug them into our groups. All of the credit groups we have, the main Facebook group, plug them into these trainings. So that way that you're able to still allow them to get coaching from some people who have more skin in the game, but at the same time, you were the bridge that led them to this solution. So all of these are pretty much, and I don't have to go through each one, but you get the point. You look at these, and as you go through them, it's an opportunity to teach. This is one of my favorite ones. Like when you drop this is like a banger. It's just like a quick wake-up call of, oh, I might be leaving some of these points on the table. Oh, my payment history, is that important? It's 35% of my score to 192.5 points, credit utilization. And then as you go through it, at first it might just be you going through each factor. Listen, these are all of the factors affecting your score. I don't care what nobody tell you. These are the main 5 factors that's affecting your score. And if you're not tapped into all of these, then you're leaving points on the table. Payment history, that's 35% of your score. That's 192.5 points. Per bureau. Credit utilization, that's 165. And say you just went through each one and just listed. The first video might be like that because you're just listing it and then you say, hey, if you need help with taking your credit to the next level, I got a solution for you. Comment the word solution down below and I'll show you how I can assist you. It might just be a bullet point type video where you're just going over certain things. The next video, you might have a little more knowledge, so you're able to elaborate. Look, when it comes to payment history, that's 192.5 points. But the solution to that is having the right letters to send and knowing how to send them the right way so you can get some of those negative, erroneous collections and charge-off removed from your credit profile. Comment letters down below if you want access to the system that's helping people all across the nation. So your knowledge and your videos enhance over the time as you're enhancing and growing over time. So take all of these as an opportunity to be able to give value. You got everything you need. You just got to get creative enough and say, how can I use what I have? And understand that I just have to know a little bit more than somebody else. And then eventually you look up and you're getting 1% better, 1% better, 1% better, 1% better. 100 days from now, you're 100% better than you were. And now you're more valuable as a person. You're more of an asset to your family. You're more of an asset to your community, all using this and taking action. So don't shy away from it because people need to hear from you. Not a lot of people are going to want to hear it directly from us. It's a great deal of people, don't get me wrong, who love us and rock with us. When we talk to people, they are happy to connect with us. However, it's a group of people who want to hear from you. They want to hear your tonality. They want to hear how you break it down. They want to hear your experience, your journey. They can relate to you a little bit better. And that's okay. But if you don't share it and you're not putting yourself out there, then you're doing somebody a disservice. Is somebody out there right now who would never hear about a solution to how they can break the generational curse of bad credit unless they hear from you. So if that doesn't cause you to say, you know what, it's a child or a parent or a family that might not hear about this unless it comes from me, then that should make you feel like, okay, let me at least do my part. Let me at least play my role, in this world and make some type of impact because I have access to the tools and the solution and the knowledge to make that happen. See, when I think from that angle, I look at it like, okay, I don't know who's going to come into our ecosystem, but I know I'm doing my part by putting us out there enough to where when they do come into our ecosystem, I'm a solution. I'm doing God's work. Just by me operating and living and expressing and educating, I'll attract the people that are meant for me, meant to be a part of our tribe. And that same is true for you. So don't feel like you have to be us, to talk like us, to do it how we do it. No, be you. Use all of you. If you talk with slang, talk with slang. If you use some choice words, use some choice words. Be you through the process, and you'll attract all of the people that you need. So I won't go into all of these. I just wanted to let you know that this right here is available, but I would look at it from an angle of each slide is an opportunity to educate a little bit, give them a call to action. Say, hey, comment this down below if you want to know more on how we can help you solve this problem. And it can be a 20-second, 30-second video, up to 60 seconds. And then, of course, you can still incorporate all of the other videos and styles that we teach where you might not be talking at all. And it might be 5 seconds, 6 seconds. But start incorporating some teaching. We need more royalty teachers because that positions you to be more postured. It positions you to retain the information a lot more. And it positions you to be more valuable and more of an asset as it relates to yourself and breaking the generational curses of bad credit, etc. So that's all I got for tonight. I'm gonna position it to unmute for those of you who might have a question about building. I just wanted to take that presentation that I went over, but let you know that you got the same access. The same thing I just tapped into to share this information with all of you. You can do the same thing, but you can break it up into little snippets. And now you break it up into little snippets. You're starting to grow your following, starting to grow your reach. And you do it the right way. Facebook, IG, TikTok, YouTube will start paying you just based on you sharing what it is that you know. So that being said, I think if you have I think I set it up to where you can unmute. Unmute if anybody has any questions. If there's no questions, then we'll wrap it up and y'all can have the rest of y'all night. But this part was just for the builders, anybody who wants to share this information and empower others. Any other questions? Talk to me. Unmute and we'll address.
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Who we got?
It's Alita. I'm finally out of the gym. Okay.
All right, talk to me, Alita.
All right. So okay, so a couple of things. This is what I did. A couple of things. I got somebody off of following Angela's TikTok. I got somebody that signed up by learning TikTok. I didn't even know how to work TikTok, but because of her training and me going step by step how she did it and put my little sauce in it, I went on ahead, I went on a limb and did it, and I got to sign up. And then also I have a Zoom account to where they also have, like, you know, these presentations. They have another set where it has like pinpoints while you're doing a presentation. It gives you like talking points. Right? Am I right? Yeah. Yep. So I finally got those printed out, but even last weekend, I went live on Facebook on the Zoom account, and people were tagging people and stuff too. So that's another thing you could do is, like, you know, make a Zoom account, go and share live on Facebook, and, you know, do the screen, you know, and do the presentation and stuff, because it was storming here. And I was like, hey, y'all, it's storming and I ain't got nothing better to do. I'm just going to go live talking about credit.
I love that. I love that. I hope she said a couple of things. And everything you just said, the slides I just showed with the talking points, you can use this for a Zoom if you don't already know. And then those talking points, you can have it, you know, right there on the side of the Zoom so that they won't know that you're reading those talking points. They don't just see the slide if you're doing form of a Zoom, so you can definitely do that. But the first thing I want to hit on is, you said you went through the training. The training that you're talking about, just correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about the trainings that Angela did inside of the royaltymovement.com, where she's talking about how to use the TikTok and grow your page and make money, right?
Right, that one.
Perfect. So a lot of y'all haven't done any homework. Step by step, showing you how to take your phone, turn your phone into an asset by using platforms like TikTok, creating short videos, doing certain things. She said she added her own sauce, her own style. That's welcome, you know, but definitely don't miss the overall point of how we're doing what we're doing and why we're doing it. And as a result, she got to sign up. And that's just a trickle down effect of what's yet to come. That's that one video. That video may get a few more signups. And as she continues to do this and stacks her knowledge, doing the webinars, like she said, teaching about credit, she's going to become a force to be reckoned with. So I salute you, Queen. That's what it's all about. Hopefully you doing it and jumping out there like that inspire somebody else to do the same. But we need more teachers, more people duplicate, more people educate, and being that person that's one chapter ahead of the student as we continue to take over the nation. Any other thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to get more real estate agents. I'm trying to get more real estate because, you know, I'm a real estate coach and mentor. So I'm trying to, you know, I got a couple of them. I've been talking to them. I say, hey, you know, if you guys got clients, you get the money for the credit. You know what I mean? Go do it. And stuff. So I'm trying to get more agents on board and everything. So
smart. You know, we're realtors as well, and a lot of them don't have that vehicle. They outsource it or depend on somebody else. Now, what if you could be the person that provides the solution? Now, if you're providing a solution, the people who are ready to buy a home are more likely to want to deal with you because you already helped them in their area. So that's good for realtors, you know, to understand that. So, yep, you're thinking of, where are you located again?
California.
Cali. Okay, love it. I love it. Absolutely. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Keep doing what you're doing, Queen. Any way that we can assist, you let us know. We got you. You cut out on me. You cutting out real bad, so I ain't catching it. You still cutting out, so if you in motion, just come back on a little later, and then you know, you'll be able to get your point across. Anybody else got any other questions, comments, feedback? They're all welcome. Questions, comments going once? Twice? Perfect. So, hey, take what it is that you got from this training, whether it was the first part, where it's just you understanding it for yourself, or the second part, you understanding that you're in a position to also help and teach others. Just like we're doing, just like Alita is doing, just like other people are doing with the short form content. Let's crank it up a notch. Be okay with doing some talking videos, educate, and just picking one thing that you can talk about. And sometimes we might take you, like when we first recording video, it might take us 3, 5, 7 takes before we like, all right, we're gonna release this. Sometimes it might take that, but don't overthink it. Because if you just teach a little bit and you're just teaching in increments, then it's hard for you to mess up. And just understand that people like authenticity. They're gonna see if you are a little nervous or if it's a little new to you or if you're a little shy, and that's fine. Because over time they'll see the progress. If you look at our old videos, we definitely weren't spitting it out as fast as we can now when it comes to certain things, certain topic matters, and people are able to see that progress. So don't downplay whatever level you're at. You know, just be confident and comfortable with at least taking that first step and just making progress however you can. So hopefully this served you and gave you some value. Let me make sure I have any other questions in the comments. I see a couple of comments coming through. I do overthink. Yep, a lot of people overthink. And this is a quote that I said, and this really hit home. Not for me per se, but maybe this will hit home for you. For the people who are saying I'm shy, I'm scared, you know, I overthink. This is what somebody said, and I was like, ooh, that's gonna step on some toes. But sometimes you need your toes stepped on in order to realize, you know, I need to move my feet. That's the point of stepping on toes, to get a person to move their feet, get in motion. This is what they said, and I might misquote it, but the point is, they were saying, look, we need those people who say they too shy to do content, say they're scared, say they are introvert. We need those people because those are the people who are basically going to be, you know, a part of the masses, working for the people who don't mind taking chances. But this is the nugget they said. They said if a person don't feel like, you know, they feel like they're too scared or they're too introverted or they feel like they can't do it, then you just don't deserve the money. You don't deserve the compensation that comes from putting in the work. You don't deserve the rewards that come along with putting in the work. So that's just a perspective that'll make you at least get in the gear and say, you know what? I do deserve whatever it is that's out there for me. And sometimes it requires you to get a little bit uncomfortable. Jump out there, create that content, create that video. Go from point videos to talking videos, watching those trainings and then applying those trainings, taking that step. So that being said, that's all I got for y'all tonight. Hope y'all got something out of this. Make sure you apply whatever it is that we went over, so that way this time that you invested is not in vain. Because if you just tap in but you don't take action, then you wasted your own time. But if you tap in and you take action and apply this information, then you get a return on your investment that's multiple of what it is that you spent by just tuning in. That being said, you see, we live in a world where we are conditioned for failure. And oftentimes we have been programmed or fooled into mediocrity. So people find themselves living like peasants instead of the royalty that they were meant to be. But you see here in the royalty movement, we see that king in you. I see that queen in you from start to finish. It's just time for you to take your seat on the throne, because this is where we uplift your character, your confidence, and your cash flow. As royalty, you should establish a solid financial foundation that will soon lead to your abundance and thriving empire. We want you to take your seat on the throne because you are royalty. Salute. Love y'all. Let's get it.